Well, you know, we all love a compliment, but what we love even more is an accidental compliment from a liberal snowflake.
Let's get right to what America's talking about. Donald Trump makes himself Batman, and the nation's capital is Gotham City. The president of the United States has declared himself crime fighter in chief, and he's taking over Washington's police force. It is a move that the D.C. mayor is calling unsettling and unprecedented.
So the president wants to save the nation's capital. He's like Batman, says Abby Phillip, and shocker, lefties just hate that. So what do we know now? We know Democrats want illegals to vote in our elections. We knew that. And we know illegals want to stay in the country, and the Democrats are okay with that, especially the gang member illegals. We know the Democrats favor socialism over capitalism. They support terrorist organizations over their own country. They want fewer cops on our streets. They want men cheating and playing in women's sports. They also want men to violate women's spaces. They want gender mutilation for our children. Democrats want our children to be sexually groomed in our schools. I don't know if they want them to, but they're okay with it, which is just as bad. Democrats would prefer to pay more in taxes if it meant paying for handouts for lazy Americans or illegals. And now we know that they want cities to remain unsafe for all Americans, not just people. It's not racist. And all that is because of their hatred of this one man, Donald Trump. So, 19-year-old software engineer Edward Corsetine he was beaten by a group of minors after he tried to protect a female friend and thwart a carjacking attempt in Washington, D.C. And it got President Trump's attention. Corsetine, also known as Big Balls, was one of the first employees of Doge. He was photographed with blood on his face, chest and arms after reportedly suffering a broken nose, a concussion, and a black eye. And once he saw that, President Trump said, enough is enough in D.C. This is what he ran on, getting crime out of our cities. I voted for this. We all voted for that. So on Monday, Trump decided to deploy National Guard troops, and the D.C. Police Department is now under federal control. That, by the way, is a power granted to the president by the 1973 District of Columbia Home Rule Act, where there are special conditions of an emergency nature. Cue the emergency nature. Our nation's capital is a disaster, has been for ages. Just don't take my word for it. Listen to this guy from 1992. He may look familiar.
If I see a red light late at night, since there's very little traffic, slow up at the other block so I never come to a full stop except in the middle of the block because of carjackings. Stopping at a light, people standing in a corner, walking up with a gun.
1992, Joe Biden wouldn't even stop at a red light. I think he admitted to a crime there, but whatever. All the Bidens are immune to everything, so it doesn't matter. Moving on. But in 2023, the city saw the overall crime rate spike to more than double the national average, with the violent crime rate more than 3 times as high as the national average. It had the 5th highest murder rate among U.S. big cities and the highest rate of car theft. Number one, facts and numbers here, folks. Math, so to speak. Yes, those matter to us here, as much as Democrats pretend they're not real. Carjackings in 2018, there were 148. 5 years later, in 2023, 957. Math here, something not taught to our children in the blue cities, by the way. Math here, we call that a 547% increase. Now, a Democrat will tell you that 2023 was some sort of outlier and say 2024, there were 497 carjackings only. Math here again, that number is still triple the number seen in 2018, 6 years earlier. Now, let's do the murder rate, shall we? That number has doubled in the past 12 years. Murder rate was 13.9% in 2012. That's insanely high to start with. But it was 27.5 in 2024. In math, that's a 97.8% increase in the murder rate in D.C. But still doesn't matter. Trying to fix the problem is, well, you can expect this from the Democrats. If you try and fix that problem, well, it must be racist.
They seem to hold their harshest criticism sometimes for cities that are majority black and brown. Do you see that, and what do you think that means?
I think that I have been dealing kind of with this issue for a number of years. It's kind of easy fodder on the campaign trail. But now we're talking about governing, and my job is to focus on making sure our city is running well, and people enjoy a great quality of life.
Race card, race card, race card. But all I hear is "I hate America" in the voice of Barack Obama. Imagine this, three black people talking about racism in the face of a president trying to save black lives in D.C., which is riddled with violence. Make it make sense for me, please. Does any of this matter to them at all?
These people here in D.C., all these mothers, children been killed in the streets by juveniles, being carjacked by juveniles.
Violent carjackings that have resulted in deaths on K Street, which is a business hub, death of an Uber driver simply trying to deliver food in Navy Yard.
Some shots, some bangs. We've seen police officers running in all directions.
I almost feel a little desensitized to it in a way because it seems to be of the norm. It's actually pretty scary that these teenagers own guns and that they are in the neighborhood shooting guns.
Those are real people. But just when you thought Dana Bash at CNN couldn't go lower and, quite frankly, less intelligent, Dana decides yet again to swim deeply in those waters of Trump derangement syndrome to show just how much she doesn't give a damn about the suffering of real American people.
I should note that the most violent moment in recent history in D.C. was January 6th. And it was an attack on the United States Capitol by a lot of people who were doing it in the name of Donald Trump. And it included, the people who were hurt included members of law enforcement.
One person killed, and that was one of the protesters, Dana. But Dana is just a symptom of her whole network's deranged lunacy over at CNN.
The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled.
At this point, folks, CNN should just be taken off the air completely. Reminder, they called the black shooter most likely white just a couple of weeks ago. Why aren't they fact-checking those numbers they put up on the screen? We all know that these cities are not reporting all of the crimes on purpose. Where's their journalism? Was there any there at all? There isn't any, because yet again, that story doesn't suit their agenda, the leftist agenda. But sometimes it's so bad that even someone who works for the media machine has to break from the norm and admit there's an actual crisis happening. And that says a lot.
However, I can tell you firsthand here in downtown D.C. where we work, right here around our bureau, just in the past 6 months, there were 2 people shot. One person died literally 2 blocks down here from the bureau. It was within the last 2 years that I actually was jumped walking just 2 blocks down from here. And then just this morning, one of my coworkers said her car was stolen.
Well, I hope you didn't really take a liking to that anchor at ABC, because I wonder how long she's going to get to keep her job for telling the truth. Probably not long. Look, this is the same thing the left does over and over again. Inflation sky high under Biden, but don't worry, everything is fine. Just because you can't afford anything doesn't mean there's a problem. It's only transitory. For 4 years, shootings, carjackings, who cares? Everything's fine. Nothing to see here, folks. Just admit it already. You hate the country, leftist CNN. You don't care about your fellow countrymen. Hating Trump and racial division is all you want to talk about. Here's the fact. The president is fostering law and order. That's what he promised. That's what he's delivering, or at least trying to deliver. They keep getting in the way, the activist judges, but he's trying. The beating of that young man is infuriating and should anger every single American. Washington, D.C. is a failing city. And decades of getting worse and getting it wrong means it's time to fix it, right? Period. Right? Shouldn't be a problem. This should not be a discussion. Fix D.C. It's our nation's capital. And by the way, Democrats, if you can't do the job, get the hell out of the way. We'll be back 2.5 minutes.